Good morning, everyone. Grant, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, we take this moment to pause and thank you for all that we're blessed with on the day. Continue each and every day that we pray for our board and our employees and public that we serve, and continue to do our job with honor and honesty. We pray as always that you'll continually lead us as we leave this place today and keep us safe. As always, forgive us for sins and our shortcomings. In Christ's name.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lance, would you do the roll call?
Sure. Harville.
Here.
Mr. Pitts.
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Toller.
Here.
Commissioner Gould.
Having a forum, I'll call the meeting to order. First item, approval of minutes. Regular meeting, June 10th, 2022. Everybody had a chance to look at those. Any additions or deletions?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Commissioner Harville.
Yes.
Mr. Pitts.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Toller.
Yes.
Commissioner Gould.
Public comments.
August 4th and the second week's not that October 4th.
Good deal. Good, we'll shoot for next year to get back a little earlier.
Yeah,
But
yes, yeah.
I know this was a few changes and different things we had to deal with, so.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Committee reports.
Yeah, I've got, this is from the Southern Five Regional Planning. I just want to update you real quick what's going on in the county. Village of Dongola is finishing up on a project for a new utility billing software and equipment. Village of Alto Pass is waiting awards for new steps and handrails. And let's see, we're also working with Brad's Collision Works on a loan application. If we're finally approved on this, he's got 11 employees, and with the new loan, he's going to be adding one new employee. And there's also another client we're working with. And on the HOOP meeting last night, we're presently working with the Union County Economic Commerce and Economic Development on a loan package, and or not a loan package, but a grant. But we tabled that for a while. Just could discuss it a little bit more.
Anybody else?
No, animal control is getting a little full. Going really good out there. Despite the heat and everything.
I think we're about ready to start working on the RFP on that, right? Building permits.
You have one, parcel number 0924064777. It's at 800 Springville Hill Road in Jonesboro for Brock Buckner, a new home, no subdivision, no floodplain, recommended for approval.
Thank you for sending those out in advance.
Any questions?
Second.
Mr. Harville,
Yes.
Mr. Pitts,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Toller,
Yes.
Mr. Gould.
Okay, old business. Acceptance of FY 2021 Union County audit. Floor is yours. Glad to see you.
Thanks for having us again this year. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. Thanks for everyone's help during the audit process. Angie and Carrie, the rest of the staff, we appreciate everyone's help. So I think that you should have received a copy of the financial statements. You sent those as well, right? So, and then I provided kind of just a summary of the reports that we're issuing and just some highlights of the activity. I thought it'd be easier just to kind of go through this summary. I did want to point out that the reports are still in our quality control review process, so they're not completely final, but I don't expect any major changes from what you saw in the drafts. So with that said, if you have any questions on the actual drafts themselves, I'd be happy to try and answer those. But I'll kind of just quickly go through just a summary of the reports that were issued and some of the kind of the findings and things that we had. So there will be 5 reports that we'll issue. The first one being the annual financial report, which is the main county audit report. The independent auditor's report will have an unmodified opinion, which basically means that everything in the financial statements, we believe that everything presented in the financial statements is fairly presented based on our audit. There were adjustments that were made during the audit process, so the audited financials reflect those adjustments. There's another audit report that we include in the annual financial report, and that's the report on internal controls over financial reporting and compliance, and it's in accordance with government auditing standards. And we don't actually issue an opinion on your internal controls, but this report we're required to disclose if we find any weaknesses, material weaknesses, or significant deficiencies in internal controls. And we did have one material weakness. It's over financial reporting, and when we propose material audit adjustments, we're required to have this material weakness over financial reporting. So this was a repeat from the prior year. And I'll go through in a second here the adjusting journal entries that we had. But just to note, there were 2 other material weaknesses last year, comments that were cleared this year. One was with respect to the ambulance billings and write-offs, which you changed your processes relating to that. And the other, I think, was time reporting, was it CompAbs maybe, that was corrected this year as well. So there were 3 last year, reduced to 1 this year, 2 of them were cleared. So then the second report is our auditor's communication to the board and management. And included in this report is just kind of a cover letter indicating what our process was and the estimates that we evaluated during the process. It also includes adjusting journal entries and what I was mentioning before. So we had 18 adjusting journal entries this year. Last year there were 33, so we made progress in terms of getting things adjusted before we even kind of start to do the audit process. Some of those 18, though, were material to the financial statements, which is why we have that material weakness over financial reporting. Also included in this letter is a list of past adjustments, things that we consider to be not material to the financial statements. Usually these are things like timing differences for accrual. So it's maybe posted incorrectly in this year, but it will be posted next year. And so those are things that we didn't feel rose to the level in terms of dollar amount to be material to the financial statement. So we just didn't even post those in journal entries. So there's a list of those in there. And then the last thing in this letter is our management. And so in this management letter, since we already report the material weaknesses and significant deficiencies in internal controls in the annual financial report for that report on internal controls, we don't list those here. But what we do have are a couple of things that fall below the threshold of material weakness or significant deficiency. And so those are control deficiencies. We had 2 that were repeated and 1 that was resolved during this year. I think timeliness of bank reconciliations was the thing that got resolved this year. And then the last part of that letter, we have some other things that are considered advisory comments. So they even fall below that internal controls weaknesses and control deficiencies threshold. A lot of these are policy related. So I think we have a couple of policy related recommend that you have a accounting and procedures manual. That's a typical comment that we have. We have an item about internal controls, but it's not internal controls, information technology policies and things like that. So a lot of these are kind of some policy driven in nature. We had 6 comments from last year that were repeated, and then 1 other prior comment that was resolved. So there were no new comments this year. All the comments that we had were just some repeats from the prior year. The third report that we issue is the financial compliance audit of the clerk of the circuit court's fiduciary fund. And so in that report, which is required by the Office of Administrative Court, the circuit clerk's audit guidelines, we do have an independent auditor's report on that fund, which is an unmodified opinion. We have the report on internal controls and other weaknesses, same as the letter above, but this is just specific to the circuit court fund. And so we didn't have any material weaknesses. The one material weakness or finding that we did have last year was resolved this year, so we didn't have any findings this year. And then also included in that is report J, it's the annual financial report. And then we also have an independent accountant's examination report, which is a compliance report on the fees that are being assessed. And that was what the finding related to last year. So it's an unmodified opinion on that as well. And then a couple other reports. So you're required to have a report to the Government Accountability and Transparency Act, the GAD report, it's Consolidated Year-End Financial Report. We have to issue an in relation to opinion on the information that's provided to GADA. So the information was prepared by Angie, and we have to review that to make sure that it agrees with the audited financial statements. So it's basically a schedule of all the grants that pass through the state of Illinois or the federal grants. And then the last thing is the annual financial report to the comptroller. It's an electronic submission. It's a prescribed form, mandatory form that's required by statutes to be completed. So we assist with that process as well.
Very good. Do you feel comfortable with us going ahead and accepting these reports before you get the final?
Yeah, we were just talking about that. I think that our quality control review team said they should have us some comments today. They usually have some changes to the reports. I don't expect them to be material or significant in nature enough to affect our opinion. So our opinion is likely going to still be an unmodified opinion. But I hope to get that to you like the first part of the week to get it finalized. So.
I, for one, I'm very pleased with this. I mean, we've come a long way in the last few years, from many findings to one, and which, the way I understand it, that's probably always going to be there. Kind of
That's a pretty typical comment. That
job security. But no, I'm very pleased with it. I would like to say thank you to all the elected officials and the administrative people, and special thank you to Angie for all the hard work she does on this, because I know this is kind of like a lot of things. We get this done today and it starts over tomorrow. So it's a long-term process. Not too many people know how many hours she puts in on this. Same way on the circuit clerk audit. I mean, basically, we've got them listed here separately, but we reviewed both of them. And, appreciate Carrie's efforts in getting rid of her one finding. And it's, I think, a red star for Union County.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty bad in the past.
Can I say something, Max?
Yep.
Just so you guys know, on our, even on the control deficiencies where we had 2 of our comments repeated, I expect one of them for sure to come off next year, because it was the timely cash deposits actually in the county clerk's office. And they made that change to where they're depositing daily, but they didn't make it until almost at the end of fiscal year 21. So in 22, we're doing that one, so it will go away, but it was still here in 21, which is why it has to be on the audit. And then the other one is a capital assets list, same thing. We started it, but didn't do it until later. So both of those I would expect to come off of next year's audit. And then the advisory comments for the 6 of them that were repeated, they are mostly policies, like Chad said, that we just need to draft up. But there are some items that we'll need to discuss. For instance, like doing hotel motel audits. So where you guys take the tax, your ordinance or whatever it is that you pass to do it says that you'll do audits of places, and we're not doing them. That's why that's on there. And then also related to hotel motel, the resolution says that there's a late charge if you don't pay it by a certain date, and we're really not charging that late charge. So their suggestion is one of 2 things: either start charging the late charge or redo your resolution to not charge your late charge. But that way, so that they're in. So, I mean, they're not major things. They're things that we can definitely correct and get out of here. And it just takes some work drafting the policies and then deciding which way you guys want to go on the hotel motel stuff. And then with regards to Carrie's audit, I don't know if she wants to say anything, but they did a great job this year. Like that finding that was on theirs, I expected that finding to stay on theirs just like ours would. And Carrie did a great job. She took charge, and it was where the judges were charging different amounts than what the statute says they can. And she had discussions with them, and thankfully our judges did good too and changed all that. But do you want to?
Yeah, if I could, can I just take a second and say something really quick about that? Because I think it's important. First, I want to thank Chad and Sikich, because they were awesome working with me over the last year to make sure that we didn't have any further findings. So without them sort of collaborating with my office, I don't think we would have been where we were. But in my memory of years gone by, this is probably the first time that this office hasn't received a hit on an audit, and I'm really proud of that accomplishment. But it isn't something that I did alone or didn't do without concert with everybody else. But what had to happen was, once we identified the issue, which Chad and his team kind of explained to me and showed to me in statute, I went to the judges. And but for Judge Edmonds and Judge Denny really taking a hard look at it and making sure that when they signed on the dotted line, the financial order was correct and in keeping with the statute, this really wouldn't have happened. But before it even got to them, had I not been able to have a spirited collaboration at the state's attorney's office, where we had Julie and Paige, frontline workers, collaborating with my team to create a form to kind of make it easier for everybody to see that this could be a problem. By the time it got to the judge, we had already solved for any potential issue. So it was important that all of that happened before we entered into the next fiscal year. So without that, it wouldn't have happened. And of course, without my team, which is Emily and Britt, doing such a good job on their day-to-day operations, we could have had other findings. So it really was a team effort. But it's important for us to note, especially as a board and as a community, that fines and fees collection at the court level really funds us. And we're about to see that change dramatically come January 1st with the new Safety Act in many ways. So being able to create collaboration in the courthouse among these different offices to ensure that we collect fines and fees this year correctly, and when we can capture money, we capture it correctly, was very important. Because come next year, you're going to see a massive decrease in just the amount of people coming through the court system. So I'm grateful for that, and I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that the team in the courthouse is really working towards that end for the community. So thank you again to Sikich for help and everybody else, but thanks.
Thank you, Carrie.
Yep.
You got anything else to add?
Nope, that was all. Appreciate everybody's hard work during the audit process. Everybody's got their daily job to do, and we ask a lot of questions. So appreciate everybody's help.
Again, we appreciate you and what you've done with us.
They are a great company to work with, and and they're not, I mean, for lack of better words, they don't just rubber stamp it, which I really like. They actually go in and they audit it in detail and they point out the stuff we need to do better and even the stuff we could do better. And then they also assist. So this is not just a one-time audit and it's done. I send emails to them all the time throughout the year. Hey, this new thing came up. This is how I think we should report it. Is this what you think? And they are always very prompt and very good at getting back to me and assisting with finding people policies or anything that we ask of them. So I've been really happy with their services.
I am too, and I've been here long enough, I can remember firing an audit company. Bobby can attest to that. I mean, it was a pretty disastrous way of operating in Union County, or anywhere else, but, it's been good to get to this point. Again, I thank you, thank all of you for all of your hard work. I make a motion that we accept the FY 2021 Union County audit.
Max, do you want the list in there with pending changes that they find, or just go ahead and accept it?
No, just go ahead and accept.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Harville?
Yes.
Commissioner Pitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Toller?
Yes.
Commissioner Gould?
Yes.
Also, I make a motion, we accept the FY 2021 Union County Circuit Clerk audit.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Harville?
Yes.
Commissioner Pitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Toller?
Yes.
Commissioner Gould?
Yes.
Again, good job, everybody. Really appreciate everybody's efforts. So I think it's a milestone that we're reaching higher and higher every year. Item C under old business, approval of collective bargaining agreement between Union County Sheriff's Office and FOP. We're still gonna have to table that. Apparently the union rep is writing this and he's still on vacation, so that's all we can do. So, I mean, I've had several of employees downstairs ask me, and that's just where we are, just waiting. So, continue that, table it under old business. New business, approve payment of bills. Everybody have a chance to look at the bill list?
I make a motion to pay our bills.
I'll second.
Commissioner Harville?
Yes.
Commissioner Pitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Toller?
Yes.
Commissioner Gould?
Last item on the agenda, resolution setting the salary of public defender. This is per statute, state of Illinois, we don't really control much of this. Just so everybody is aware, the state does reimburse us 66 2/3% of that salary, and that salary, of course, is set by statute according to the state's attorney's salary. So again, that's what it is. So, any questions?
I move we accept it.
I'll say it.
Commissioner Harville?
Yes.
Commissioner Pitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Toller?
Yes.
Commissioner Gould?
Don't think we have anything for the executive session that I'm aware of, which is a good thing. All right, other business. Anybody?
I have something, Max, if you're okay. I just so you guys know, I have put out a request for energy bids. Our energy contract is up at the end of August. And so just like we always do, we're asking for people to bid on our energy. So those you'll see at the next board meeting and can make a decision. And then the other thing I've been working on, as you guys are aware, is the RFP for the demolition of the old assessor's office across the street. So I put that together, sent it out to all of you. I did receive some comments back. I think I had one from Bobby and a few from Dave while reviewing them, so thank you guys for reviewing that, sending the comments back. I put those comments into the RFP or made the changes, and then I resent it back out to you guys. So I'm hoping to release that today, if everybody's good, so.
Yeah, I responded, I'm good with it, so I don't know about everybody else.
Yeah, I was fine with it, but it's really put that prevailing wage in there too.
No, you don't think you're okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. We'll proceed forward with that. Anything else?
We'll have early voting this weekend, it goes through the weekend, so tomorrow is 8 to noon, and Sunday is 1 to 4, so if no one's got a chance to vote yet, and they want to early vote, they can come in this weekend, we'll be open, and then, of course, Tuesday is election day. Everything looks good on that, we're ready to go with it, so, hopefully everything goes smooth with the primary, so.
And a number of people, I don't know whether last year we still used paper as an alternative, but they really liked the machine.
Everything is still paper, everything is still paper driven, it's, using the, it's, ballot paper has become scarce. So to kind of counteract that, we've got enough for this election. But to save on some of it, we put in the express vote machines. That paper is a whole lot easier to get and a whole lot cheaper. So it's working well. I think a lot of people do enjoy it and like it and enjoy the experience, but everything's still paper driven. If the wheels fall off, we can still hand count it if we had to. So, but everything's going smooth. So appreciate it.
I guess you're gonna be happy that this is over Tuesday.
I'm ready for it to be over. Yeah, that's all right.
No other business, have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
I'll say.
Commissioner Harville,
Yes.
Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Toller,
Yes.
Commissioner Gould.